Malawi Floods Emergency Recovery Project, MFERP, is supporting government's broader flood recovery program by providing immediate relief to communities affected by the 2015 floods through the restoration of their livelihoods and rehabilitation of critical infrastructure for public service delivery. With the second cycle of the Public Works Program underway, over 45,000 beneficiaries are being targeted in this project funded by the World Bank. About 13,000 people have received inputs, while 32,223 are expected to receive cash following their participation in the reconstruction of community assets damaged by the floods. Reports from the councils show that over 90% of works under input for assets have been completed, while about 50% works under cash for work component has been done. MFERP is operating under the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development in close partnership with the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODMA. The ministry was responsible in leading negotiation team in the formulation of the project and currently chairs the steering committee, given the multi-sectoral nature of the program. Composed of representatives from all sectors involved at controlling officers level, the Project Steering Committee (PSC) provides oversight of implementation and acts as the central policy guidance. Ministry of Finance also takes a crucial role in making sure that all the components of the program are appropriately done and that all stakeholders are carrying out their respective roles. The Project Implementation Unit (PIU) also furnishes reports to the ministry on a daily basis. According to the Secretary to the Treasury, the project has been extremely helpful in restoring livelihoods among the affected households in the 15 targeted districts. Dr. Ronald Mangani cites food security and rehabilitation of public infrastructures as some of the areas where significant progress has been registered.
There is every indication that the short-term targets and objectives of the project have been accomplished very, very well. The input for assets subcomponent, for instance, has targeted over 45,000 households, and their livelihoods have actually been restored. And in the process, this process has also assisted in making sure that some feeder roads have been rehabilitated, and also assisted in restoring some forests in the affected areas. In terms of food security, the project provided resources to procure 50,000 metric tons through the National Food Reserve Agency, and I'm pleased to report that, in fact, over 52,000 metric tons were procured, exceeding the target by about 5.2%. Significant progress is also being recorded in terms of achieving the medium-term objectives of the project. So, for instance, as I speak, work is commencing and progressing very well in terms of the construction and rehabilitation of roads and bridges, in terms of the construction and rehabilitation of education infrastructure as well as health facilities, but also in terms of conducting social and environmental mitigation measures, or implementing social and environmental mitigation measures in the affected areas. Similarly, significant progress is being made to rehabilitate irrigation projects and also to distribute shadow pumps in order to assist affected communities to revert to productive irrigation projects within their districts.
Recently, a World Bank mission from Washington visited some of the projects it is funding in the southern region. Following the visit, the team expressed satisfaction with the way the program is helping communities in recovering from the devastating effects of the 2015 flood disaster. The bank's MFERP's task Team leader Ayaz Parvez said a lot of good progress has been made as communities recover in terms of their livelihoods together with service delivery following the flooding. The delegation also had a meeting with the Ministry of Finance, which is a crucial partner in the project. Dr. Mangani describes the interface with the team as quite revealing because according to its evaluation, the program has made remarkable progress. He provides more insight on some of the highlights of the meeting with the bank's officials.
The World Bank have spotted a few things that require strengthening, such as strengthening the coordination across implementing agencies, but they also commend the fact that the project steering committee is providing the necessary leadership to make sure that the project progresses very well. We are quite, sensitive to the observations that have been made by the World Bank, and I would like to assure you that where commendation has been made, we take it positively, but where observations have been made for improvement, we're also very serious in making sure that those improvements are actually implemented.
One of the areas which the Ministry of Finance is pleased with in the MFERP's initiative is the aspect of disbursement and utilization of funds in the $80 million project. Mangani says Treasury is upbeat because utilization of funds is directly impacting on the people targeted under the program.
As I speak now, based on the latest report at our disposal, very close to 50% of the total allocation of $80 million has already been disbursed to the government, and this disbursement in the region of about $40 million of the $80 million in fact represents 50%, as I've already said, of the total project resource envelope. But I must also say that this disbursement represents more than twice as much as was projected at this stage in the implementation of the project. So we are doing quite well. But I must also report that of the $40 million that has been dispersed, government has already utilized about $24 million, and commitments have been made amounting to about $9.5 million. So I can assure you that the disbursement of resources, as well as the utilization of those resources in implementing the objectives of the project, are going quite well. We're impressed, and as I've already said, the indication is that this utilization of resources is in fact directly impacting on the lives of the very people that we have been targeting under this project.
The major highlights of the team's tour to Malawi was an announcement that the World Bank board approved $174 million to assist those facing food shortages and other drought-induced challenges to recover and build resilience against future shocks. The funding will be provided through two projects: the Malawi Drought Recovery and Resilience Project, MDRRP, with a grant of $104 million. The second support is through the Strengthening Safety Net Systems Project, Malawi Social Action Fund, MASA 4, with a grant of $48 million and a credit of $22 million.
On the climate change and the broader weather patterns that Malawi is witnessing, we are also coming up with a new project which has been approved by the bank board on November 9th, which is called the Malawi Drought Recovery and Resilience Project, where we are trying to look at this as an integrated package, because what Malawi is faced with is not just droughts or not just floods, but a vicious cycle of droughts and floods. And so we are trying to support the government in coming out of, and the people particularly, in breaking away from this cycle and to do it in an integrated manner. So you'll see that the new project that we are coming up will be using more or less the same implementation mechanism and try to consolidate the gains in this project to build and bring more outcomes related to resilience. For example, one of the key elements of climate change that is being addressed is climate smart irrigation, climate smart agriculture, that is being introduced in this new project that is called the MDRRP, which will become effective soon.
Dr. Mangani gives government's response to the bank's pledge on the new project, which will be using the same implementation mechanism and consolidate the gains from the existing MFERP program.
The Malawi Drought Recovery and Resilience Project is very welcome by the government of Malawi. It provides additional resources amounting to $104 million, and these resources are in fact available to us as a grant from the World Bank. We are extremely impressed and excited with the fact that the World Bank continues to give us this kind of support. This particular support will do many things for us. One of the major things that it will be doing is to assist the government to procure maize. Therefore, a significant component of this resource, in fact about $50 million of this money, will assist the government in the procurement of maize. And under a retroactive financing arrangement that has been put in place, government is already utilizing these resources in order to make sure that it supports the necessary interventions that will mitigate the impact of El Nino in the country. Therefore, some of the maize that we have already been talking about as being available in this country, as having been procured by government, has in fact been procured as a result of this support. But in addition to this new project will also assist in restoring livelihoods, especially in terms of the public works programs and the social cash transfer programs that government is implementing. It is assisting the government to extend the coverage of the social cash transfer program to many districts, and in support of, and in addition to support received from other development partners. Coverage now is at 100% in terms of the districts.
What other promises does the funding bring to the affected households?
Additional to this, obviously, this resource will assist us in implementing public works programs, and the public works programs are in fact, as you already know, a very important aspect in rehabilitating damaged infrastructure and restoring environmental degradation, but at the same time it also puts money in people's pockets. Therefore, I would like to say that on behalf of the government of Malawi, we are very, very grateful to the World Bank for considering to provide this additional support to this country.
Reports of financial mismanagement have recently rocked the country's district councils, which the program entrusts the funds with, as they work together in implementing projects of this nature. Secretary to the Treasury gives an assurance that Capitol Hill is working hard to address the challenge by ensuring that council authorities adhere to the Public Finance Management Act.
The issue of abuse of resources in the councils is one that the Ministry of Finance is working very hard to address. You may recall that only last week we organized a conference or a workshop where we brought together all the leaders of the councils to talk about how best we can strengthen the implementation of the projects under the Public Works Program in the Local Development Fund. This is one of the things that we are doing in order to make sure that we address the challenges with respect to public finance management in the councils. I must say that that workshop, district councils made commitments on how best they are going to improve on reporting, as well as ensuring that they adhere to the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act. I must also add to this that the leadership of the country, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, has actually moved us to make sure that we conduct appropriate audits in the councils. And the Ministry of Finance has progressed with those audits in collaboration with the Auditor General and in collaboration with the Central Internal Audit Unit. Reports of those audit exercises are being finalized as I speak, and we believe that the findings of those audit exercises will be such as to allow us to strengthen some of the weaknesses that we have observed in the councils as far as management of public resources is concerned.
Mangani points out that the directional leadership the Ministry of Finance has provided and the level of implementation by the different ministries, departments and agencies have made it possible to have a good output in the project's implementation. He further observes that close collaboration and grassroots involvement in the development of the program is crucial in the implementation process and has contributed to its success. He speaks on some of the lessons that Treasury has learned in as far as MFERP is concerned.
On our part, we are hoping that we will build on this and make sure that the implementation of the project progresses even better than has been the case up to now. The need for us to continue to hold frequent meetings, both at the technical and steering committee level, cannot be overemphasized. One of the things that we have observed is that progress has actually been stepped up when the structures that were put in place in order to ensure that the project is implemented properly became functional. And we want to build on that to make sure that the project continues to be implemented properly. I would like to say that one of the things that we have also observed is that obviously the Treasury has a responsibility to make sure that the management of funds under the project is not loose, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we scrutinize everything that is being done in order to ensure that all the resources provided under the project are put to appropriate use.
The second cycle of Input for Asset program started in July 2016. The Irrigation Public Works program was scheduled to be implemented from August to November 2016 in the flood-affected districts of Balaka, Blantyre, Chikwawa, Chiradzulu, Karonga, Machinga, Mangochi, Mulanje, Nsanje, Mcheu, Palombe, Rumpi, Salima, Cholo, and Zomba. A total of 32,225 beneficiaries are working on other types of community assets and receiving 600 kwacha per day in return for working for 48 days. The sub-projects which are benefiting from these public works programs include irrigation, roads, soil and water conservation, disaster risk management interventions, and rehabilitation of water supply schemes. Among others, the project is operating under 4 distinct components of livelihood restoration and food security, infrastructure rehabilitation and reconstruction, promoting Malawi's disaster resilience, and program management. The management and implementation of the MFERP program is done through the Project Implementation Unit in Lilongwe. The project coordinator is confident that in the next 3 years, all the project objectives will be achieved. Dixie Kampani explains that he is happy with the strides made in the various targeted areas of the project.
It's been good. As you might have noticed, that we are benefiting from indigenous knowledge, as well as you rightly said, participation. What we would like them to do is to see if they can especially help in conserving the land around the structures. That is very important for us to maintain good structures for a long time.
On the delays in the procurement of some materials, Kampani attributes some of the delays to limited capacity and skills of the contractors to complete assigned works, but is hopeful that they would eventually be done.
We would like to see if we can improve procurement processes in the districts. As for the sectors, there's no problem, but for the districts, we would like to improve procurement in terms of giving them skills, undertaking capacity development among the people that are involved in procurement. So hopefully that is going to help.
The damage from the floods meant a cut-off to access to facilities such as hospitals, markets, schools, and education structures. Considering that these natural occurrences are beyond its control, the ministry developed a contingency plan together with its partners and has planned to preposition tents and other materials to support affected schools. According to Chief Officer for Schools, Health and Nutrition in the Ministry of Education, the sector was affected as some structures turned into shelters for displaced persons. Virginia Kajigunda explains that this negatively affected the delivery of education.
Some schools were camps, and some schools they had damages, like this school. The classrooms were flooded. The roofs had the paratiles, which were broken with the wind, and the water flooded into the schools. And in some schools, it was teachers' houses, the classroom blocks, and all these damages impacted on the quality teaching and learning, which we are promoting as Ministry of Education. Learners were not coming to school, and that impacted a lot because some schools had to close for almost 2 weeks.
Rajigunda adds that they are working with partners such as World Food Programme, which helps with the school feeding program, and United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, with school materials and recreation kits. She gives an assessment on the rehabilitation of schools.
Right now, we are in the finalization process of completing 20 schools in the rehabilitation, and we are constructing 2 schools, Chikonje in Nsanje and Chingoli in Mulanje. These are completely new schools which have been relocated from the previous location because they were swept away by the floods. Yeah, so we put together environmental and social impact assessment. We come and assess what are the issues that need to be considered when rehabilitating and when constructing, and even in the issues of standards, because these are the issues that are impacting on quality of the structures that we are having. You construct a school today, tomorrow it's down. What are our qualities? What are our standards? So we are working with the technocrats, coming together with the resilient structures that can withstand impact like what we had in 2014-2015 rainy season.
The sector has achieved a 70% completion rate, with Nsanje being the lowest at 40% and Mangochi the highest at 95%. The sub-component has also procured and distributed teaching and learning materials to affected schools.